Hi, my name is Jeff Curto, and welcome to my podcast, Camera Position. There are an awful lot of podcasts out there in the podosphere about photography, but a lot of them concentrate on the technical tools of the medium. Camera Position is a podcast that I aim to have be about the visual and creative processes in photography, not the technical aspects. We'll certainly cover some technical information, but most of what I'm interested in doing here is talking about how photographers think, what kinds of choices we have to make, what we photograph, and how we choose how to photograph that stuff that we're interested in.
Well, if that voice sounds a little familiar to you, it's because that's my voice 10 years ago, back in February of 2006, when I recorded and published the first Camera Position podcast. 10 years ago. 10 years of Camera Position. Well, 10 years of Camera Position, those of you who've been around a long time know that it was a little bit on and off sometimes, on and off because, like many things in life, the things that you do as a hobby, as a special interest, sort of fall to the wayside. And of course, I was teaching photography full-time during that time and doing photography part-time, and Camera Position and my other parallel podcast, which had started a little bit before Camera Position, the History of Photography podcast, both consumed a lot of time. And yet here I am 10 years later, still podcasting, still excited about sharing ideas of photography with people out there in the world. And man, has it been rewarding. It has been a rewarding experience because I have learned much more than I thought I would learn. Here I was thinking that I would put out a podcast that would talk about creative photography and explore what it is that I'd learned about creative photography. And what I wasn't really prepared for was the tremendous number of people out there who were interested in the same kinds of things I was interested in, were excited about the fact that there was a podcast that talked about ideas rather than about gear or software. We talked a little bit about software in our last 10 years of Camera Position, and a little bit about gear, but really, those things were in service to our concepts, our ideas, our notions about what we wanted photography to be for us. And during that time, so many things have happened. One of the things that happened was a number of people who would see the photographs that I was sharing from my adventures photographing in Italy said to me, "Hey, would you ever consider teaching a workshop in Italy?" And I hadn't really thought too much about it. I thought about it perhaps a little bit. The teacher in me was excited about sharing those kinds of ideas. And I hadn't really thought about it too much. And lo and behold, in 2009, I began leading photographic workshops to Italy, and they've been more successful than I thought that they would have been, both just in terms of people wanting to go along, but also in terms of how much I enjoyed them, how much I learned from that experience. So what I want to do with this episode of Camera Position is to thank you. Thank you, all of you, the thousands of folks who are out there listening to Camera Position. You've been with me, some of you, for that entire 10 years, and some of you I know only by name and by handle on the internet. Many of you I have gotten to know face-to-face as we've met up in various ways. And I just went and looked at my statistics just because I was curious as I started to plan for this 10th anniversary podcast. And I've had 8 million downloads of Camera Position podcast files. 8 million. Just staggers me beyond measure. And that's actually only once I moved my podcasting over to a professional podcast host. Some of you may remember way back when, as Camera Position started to become popular, all of a sudden my server shut down because I wasn't prepared for thousands, or even at that time hundreds of downloads a day, and it exceeded exceeded my server bandwidth, so I had to shuffle and figure out ways to accommodate that kind of enthusiastic support. And so I thought what I would do here is, first of all, thank everyone and really just be so grateful for using this platform to create a community of like-minded photographers, many of whom I've become very well acquainted with, really good friends with. In fact, I just had lunch the other day with a podcast listener who I now know quite well, and thanks, Al, for lunch. Bought me lunch. So anyway, here I am, still sitting in the space. I've actually moved 4 times since I started out with the podcasting idea. And of course, now I'm retired from my full-time teaching position, but I'm continuing to do podcasts. And what I thought I would do here is talk briefly about some of the more popular podcasts that I've done in terms of topic, and see if any of us can learn. I certainly can learn, and maybe we all can learn a little bit about what it is that we seem to be most interested in. One of the most popular episodes, if not the most popular, was Camera Position episode number 89, where I talked about camera position and camera distance. And in that podcast, I introduced some ideas about how we position ourselves relative to the subject, both physically and emotionally. I used the photographs of August Sander, Bernd and Hella Becker, Andreas Gursky, Tina Barney, and Jessica Todd Harper to explore ways that photographers approaching similar subjects approach them from different points of view, both physically and also, again, emotionally. Camera Position episodes 87 and 88, Desert Island Photographs, parts 1 and 2, were also popular with listeners, but also popular with me, just because it was really fun to do. I asked listeners to come up with their ideas of one desert island photograph, an image that they would take with them for some visual sustenance if they were stranded on a desert island. And I explored those ideas and talked about those different photographs that people sent in. One of the coolest parts was that the first person to send in their photograph was a guy named Rex Kersley. Are you still out there, Rex? Because Rex at the time lived on the desert island, not really a desert island, but the island of Vanuatu in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So that was kind of fun to have somebody who was really on an island responding in that way. Not surprisingly, given the audience that Camera Position has, many of you are interested in the visual aspects of photographs and evaluating photographs, thinking about what it is that makes a good photograph good, and the also-rans back in the back of the pack. And that probably explains why Camera Position number 60, Back to Basics Composition, was so popular. The idea of looking at the basic elements of composition. But I also, a little bit later, in episodes 69 and 70, went a little bit farther, dealing with concepts of Gestalt theory as they relate to composition. And for those of you who are interested in that topic, by the way, there's a free ebook that I wrote and published as part of a series by other Apple Distinguished Educators. I'm one. The book is called Resonating Images, Communicating Messages Visually, and it's available for free on the iBook store, and I'll link to it on the webpage and also in the app. Also related to the interest that listeners have in the visual qualities of photographs are episodes that I've done more recently, number 154 and number 155. These podcasts were about feedback, specifically about feedback that we get normally, reaction and direction, and feedback that we'd prefer to have, genuine, true critique. They gathered quite a bit of interest, especially from the point of view of people in camera clubs and even many of my colleagues in photo classrooms, folks who want to get away from the nice shot strategy of critiquing photographs and move toward a more insightful and a more helpful method of critiquing photographs. And And I know for a fact that a lot of people have downloaded and printed out the infographic that I made in those podcasts. And I'll link to all of these podcasts in the cameraposition.com blog page, as well as in the app, so that you have access to them to go back and check them out. I am in the process of converting the old podcast format of enhanced podcasts to video. The quality won't be all that awesome, but at least you'll still get the visuals. And at some point, for those of you who've been listening a long time, I moved from the enhanced podcast format, which kind of got deprecated and ignored by just about everybody after it was going to be the next great thing, and I have been doing Camera Position as an audio-only podcast for a while, but I'm slowly but surely going back through and updating all of those podcasts to video format so you can listen and look at the same time. Well, once again, thank you, all of those of you who've been out there listening. Those times when I think to myself, do I really want to sit down in front of the microphone and do another podcast? I think about all those great people that I have met, both virtually and physically over the years that I've been doing Camera Position. I really appreciate that you're out there listening and responding to the conversations about photography. One of the most important things that's happened in the time that I've been doing Camera Position is the advent of the social media world. And so now we have Camera Position on Facebook and the Camera Position group on Flickr, where we've been getting a lot of things accomplished in terms of spreading the word about Camera Position, as well as having conversations about what it is that we talk about here. So thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you on the next and hopefully many more episodes of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography.